Oh, hello, it's me again. 2 minutes
Been you
ago.
somewhere before.
2 minutes ago, I was with you all. And welcome back to Newcastle Fans TV. It's scoring the players' time as Chelsea have beaten Newcastle by 2-0 at Stamford Bridge. Fortunately, we weren't there on a Monday night watching that. We've saved ourselves probably about £100 easy just to get to London, and then beers on top of that in London. We've saved a few quid tonight. I'm here with Mr. Mulliner, and I'm also here with Karl as well. Good evening to you, gents.
Evening.
Evening. Good, innit?
It's mint, isn't it? It's brilliant. Right, let's start. Sam, I'll let you start with Karl Darlow tonight. A couple of people are saying that you should have done better with the goals that you conceded. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Yes and no. I agree to an extent, but the thing is, these things never look good in slow motion, do they? Defenders' anticipation come into question. We've looked ropey on set pieces for 18 months, but Chelsea are exceptional at set pieces. So they've got the most goals in the Premier League from set pieces, and the warning signs were there very early on. They had 3 corners in a row, and they had good chances from 2 out of the 3 of them. Darlow, did he make any saves of note?
Probably. He made a couple from Hudson-Odoi. They were like cross shots. He had a couple of them in the second.
Yeah, one from Alonso as well, but not like proper ones. I think the time is for Dubravka, isn't it? I'm giving Darlow a 4. He could do better, but he wasn't a disaster. He's been immense. It probably is his worst performance of the season, but that's a testament to how good he's been. It might be a 4, may even be a little harsh, but the thing is, I don't know whether he's starting to feel the pressure of seeing Dubravka on that bench every week and having to pull it out.
I don't think he's done anything wrong today. Like we've had this conversation before, Sam, and I've said openly that Dubravka should be Newcastle's #1 goalkeeper. And I would, even tonight, I wanted Dubravka to start tonight. But even with the 2 goals, and I'll bring Karl to this, Karl. Do you think that Darlow could have done any better with the 2 goals? Because I think the first one, we'll talk about the right back in a second, but he's got to do something. He's got to try and get it away from goal. And the second goal is not his fault at all. Well, I say it's not his fault. His positioning could have been better. Of course, it could have been in the first part of the cross. But it's all Jamal Lewis's fault, isn't it, Karl?
Yeah, I asked Sam the same question, mate, because a lot of people were asking in the comments. But I absolutely agree. The only thing I would have pointed out was his positioning for the second goal. I don't really put him at fault personally. I can see why other people do, but for me, he was just given no protection from the defence tonight. And I'm in full agreement with you as well. I still want Darlow to be our #1. Again, I can understand why people want Dubravka, but literally just that bit of position. But like Sam said, it looks worse in slow motion than it actually is in real time. So I don't really think he put a foot wrong tonight, to be honest.
Yeah. Right, let's move on to the outfield players. We'll start at right back. We'll start with Emil Kraft. Karl, I'll let you talk about this one because I think me and Sam have been talking about right backs.
We've exhausted this.
We have. I think what we need is a neutral perspective on this.
I'm not sure mine's neutral.
Performance tonight.
His positioning is awful for a fullback. It really is, and it hasn't changed. I've said this time and time again. The first game I watched him against Arsenal at St James's Park, his position hasn't changed. He's still in the Gallagher for me. Like, he doesn't know how to defend. But I understand what Sam's saying, that he thinks he's the best of a bad bunch. I personally think it's Manquillo. But there's certain nuances between them, but neither of them are very good in terms of Premier League quality. And tonight, I agree. Both of him and Jamal Lewis were kind of left out to dry in terms of a lack of running from the midfield. To be honest, I think the defence didn't help Darlow, and the midfield didn't help the defence. It was just shambolic all over the shop. It was probably a bit too narrow. But I was happy to see Bruce actually getting on his case, but it didn't improve his performance tonight, and I'll give him a 4.
He's such at fault for that first goal, Sam.
Yeah, I might be. I don't know if you think I'm probably being a bit generous, but
I think
just
4
think,
is fair. I think 4 is fair.
Go on, elaborate then.
I think both wing backs were exposed by the narrow midfield tonight, and it was always going to be that case when you line up. And it's one of these things about lining up with a midfield 3 against how Chelsea play wing backs effectively. And Kraft had to deal with Alonso and Werner, who were outstanding. I mean, I said it in previous videos, but oh my word, what a soldier Werner is. Carrying on after that split lip. Oh, precious. But Kraft, I was disappointed. Hayden needed to be helping Kraft and pulling out wide a bit more because he was just left on his own. Same on the opposite flank. ASM didn't help Lewis enough. Gayle was never going to come back and help Kraft because why would he? It's Dwight Gayle. He likes to be in and around the box, not stuck out on the right. I don't think it was a vintage performance by any stretch of the imagination because no one really played well tonight. But I think 4 is fair. I don't think Kraft was any worse than a few others on the pitch.
I wouldn't have gone as high as 4, but to say that, I don't think he was the worst fullback at Newcastle tonight. We'll move on to that a little bit later. He's not good.
Thing is, it's like so the whole Kraft and Manquillo thing. They both have decent games. They both have shockers. They're both not good enough to be first choice in the Premier League. That's the end of it. They're both not good enough.
You're gonna have to try and find me a game this season where Kraft's played well. You really are. But we'll move on. Jamal Lewis.
Southampton, Burnley. There's 2.
Was he playing centre half in those games, though, Sam?
No.
Just asking. I was just asking.
Hashtag just asking.
You stop snapping at Karl because you've been doing that a lot recently, and I don't like it.
I'm glad
little insight. That
deliberate.
You know what it is, Karl? If he gets on your nerves anymore, you can just get rid of him. Just get rid of him. Jamal Lewis is next to me. Fantastic challenge on Tammy Abraham. I don't care what anybody else says. It's a great challenge. I heard some people say it could be a penalty, but no, not for me. Gets the ball. Look, Abraham's looking for the pen. I have to be honest. I've seen one angle, and it does look like Abraham's just waiting for Lascelles to come into the box and make the challenge. Obviously, he's not there to take his ankle out, but he gets the ball. It's a good tackle. The ball hits him for that corner, and it's about my argument is why is he standing there by himself? It's almost like when you do these man marking corners and man marking set pieces, you've got to take full account. Obviously, he's not at fault for that goal, but I just found it surprising that he was literally just there and the ball hit off him, and then obviously it went towards goal. But look, is he fully fit? I'm not convinced he's fully fit yet. I really don't. I was a bit surprised to see him in the starting 11 tonight, but the only centre half that you could argue that could have started was Paul Dummett. But could you put 2 left-footed players in centre half? Yes. Arguably you could if you had to, but I like to see 1 left foot, 1 right foot. That's just personal preference, but don't think there's any ground. I'm going to continue with the theme of 4 out of 10 for Jamal Lewis tonight. I don't think he was any better or any worse than Darlow, which I would have gone lower for Kraft, but again, I think
you always would.
I've never seen you go any lower than a 4 for Kraft. Right, let's move on. I think that's
a bit harsh on Lascelles as well. I'd have given him 5.
Oh, really? Is that what we're getting at? Oh,
no. I just love that tackle on it. I know he's not fully fit, is he? Let's face it. But I thought he did okay tonight on a whole.
Yeah, but we're kind of deciding whether a 4 or a 5 is more.
Yeah, I know. No one played well.
It's a good night in the office for Newcastle. Ciaran Clark, it was okay.
Yeah, wasn't a memorable game for him. No. But again, it was just shambolic across the whole of the back line. To be honest, like you said, the positioning was awful. Man marking was awful. I wouldn't say he was at fault for anything in particular, but he was a bit of a passenger tonight, to be fair. So again, probably a 4. Just because I don't think he really put a foot wrong. Yeah, I think you're coming on to
That's a
the one that.
contrasting statement.
What's that? Sorry. What?
I'll give him a 4 because he didn't put much of a foot wrong.
Well, yeah, but do you know what? In context,
to be honest, I agree with the rating though, because do you know what? For Ciaran Clark's starting to frustrate me with his just sideways passing and back to Darlow, and so it was all a bit too. Bleh.
Does that come from the top?
I don't know.
But the thing
Either
is,
way, everyone played crap tonight.
Yeah.
In context, the 4.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't brilliant.
I think just in there, someone's probably said, was he thinking about the night feeds? He probably was, to be fair.
Yeah, he probably was.
Good
Congratulations
good
to
point.
Ciaran Clark and his missus for obviously the new arrival last week. But yeah, we'll need him to score next time. Score against Man United, and that'll be good. That'll be a good way to get it to celebrate the newborn. Sam, Jamal Lewis. Oh my God, he had a stinker tonight.
He'll be thinking about Hudson-Odoi more than he would a naked Beyonce tonight.
100%.
Yeah. Struggled manfully, didn't he? No help from ASM, but you kind of expect that. But he did, unlike Kraft on the other side, where Hayden didn't come across enough. Shelby did actually come across to help Lewis quite a bit in that first half.
He had no choice.
I'd completely agree. He is getting a 2 from me. He was the worst in the back line. Yeah, it was always going to be a tricky night with how they lined up and how we lined up. Should be doing better for a number of things. Just not a vintage. I mean, let's face it, Chelsea are the better team. There's no two ways about it. They just have better players in every way, shape and form. So Lewis was always going to struggle. That left-hand side was ridiculously ineffective all night up until 5 minutes of Ryan Fraser. That was about it. So yeah, I don't really want to dwell on what was a complete shower of shite on that left-hand side tonight. Let's face it.
I like the comment that I've just seen there. He panics every time he gets the ball. He really does. It's funny because I've never seen a left-sided player go forward and then panic and then go so much further backwards, even further back where he originally picked up the ball. It's just so surreal. It's so strange. But yeah, is it time to drop him and put Richie in or put Dummett in for Man United? Because I think it's getting to that stage, Carl, isn't it?
100% for me. It really is. You know, he does offer something going forward, but we need him as a fullback right now. We do, and he's I'd definitely drop him. Definitely drop him. There's no two ways about it for me, because he's not doing his job at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%. Right, let's move into the midfield. I've got Isaac Hayden to start things off. Not his best game in Newcastle shirt, and I don't like saying that about Isaac Hayden because he's been superb for Newcastle this season. I said on the Black and White show with Sam and Lee over the weekend, I think he's probably been Newcastle's player of the season. Some would argue Darlow's been exceptional as well. But I think he's been absolutely brilliant for the majority of the season as Isaac Hayden. But I don't think you'll look at this, particularly the first half, with any great pleasure. I just thought, like Sam said, he was kind of he had to help Kraft out, but he was losing
He didn't.
He was trying. I think he was trying to help Kraft out, but he wasn't helping him out too much. But his passing was off. A couple of needless challenges, which he didn't need to go into. But he had a better second half. He did have a better second half. But Newcastle going forward in the second half. So that it just winds me. We'll talk about the manager later on, but that's a different conversation. I'm going to be kind and go 4. But I think it was more the second half that I felt like he was a little bit better second half. I don't think he could have been much worse in the first half, but yeah, I don't think Isaac Hayden will get many lower performances than a 4 out of 10 from now at the end of the season because he's been so consistent so far this season. But yeah, get your comments in. If you can smash the like button as well, that'd be brilliant. Haven't seen many positive comments or positive scores or anything more than a 4 or a 5 at the minute. So that tells you how much of a bad performance it's been all season. Carl, John, Joe, Shell, the. Adam's just been talking before and said that he's getting away with murder. The fact that he's not getting a lot of criticism. He just doesn't seem to fit in this team, is what he said. And plus, maybe he needs to be dropped. On tonight's performance, do you think he deserves to be dropped?
He has been my favourite player in terms of what he can do for Newcastle for a while, up until maybe the back end of last season and this season. And look, my poster is quickly coming down off that wall. I think like tonight is infuriated the fuck out of me. It really has. I think because so many people have been getting on his back, I've tried to look at it in a different way, because I've always tried to defend him and just looking that he's not that player. He's not a box-to-box midfielder, but I just don't see effort from him anymore. I really don't. And I'm getting to the point now where I just feel like if you don't want to play for the club, then don't. Just don't play him. Just drop him.
And just let him on the contract, Carl.
I know, but we've paid worse players. Do you know what I mean? we still had Henry Saive on the books, and if he wants to be like, if he doesn't want to play for the club, just either get rid of him or just let him rot in the reserves, whatever he wants to do, because I'm fucking sick of it. And I have unfortunately gone off on him in the last word as well, and it's not something I want to do, but I just there's no excuse for not putting effort in. We would all play for this club for free. He's getting paid what, 60, 70 grand a week. You're telling me that he can't run more than 15, 20 yards. Yes, he's helped Jamal Lewis out to a certain extent tonight, but like you said, that's because he's had to. But we don't see it from him week in, week out. He's lolling around the pitch. He's a luxury player, and we're not getting any productivity out of him anymore. So what is the point in him being on the pitch? You know, I've tried to defend him and say that he needs Hayden playing alongside him to take that workload off him, but that doesn't work. So I think Adam's right. He just doesn't fit in the system anymore. And for me, I just don't feel like he wants to play. Tonight, I'll give him a 3. Yeah, I think he was. I thought he was bad. Personally, I know people might disagree. I've seen some people saying that he was one of the most. He run the most out of some of the players tonight, but I didn't personally see that. So,
Sam, what did you see with Andre Shelby tonight? And do you think that the criticism he's getting is deserved? Because I think what a lot of Newcastle fans want is effort and desire. It just doesn't seem to show that at times, and especially when every game's on TV, that's just going to get highlighted more.
I thought he was better than Hayden tonight. I thought his passing was okay. He's never a box to box player. He never kind of busts a gut, does he? That's just the way he plays. You know, when the team isn't playing well, he is a passenger too often. I thought he was better than Isaac Hayden, but again, no one played well, so no one's getting a high score. He can be lazy on at times, but I don't even think this was his worst game of the season. He's not having a good season at all. He's so out of form and so out of touch. He did spray a couple of nice long passes though, but it's.
For me, he's a senior player. He can be quality on the ball. Like, he's got to start being a leader. He's got to start being a leader, and we just don't see it from him. And I absolutely agree. You know, like I've said, he's been one of my favourite players at Newcastle for a long time. And I hate seeing him like this, but he just doesn't fit in the system anymore. He doesn't fit and you know, a lot of that's going to be down to tactics and things like that. But you know, there's got to be some effort from him. There has to be.
Yeah. Sam, Joe Willock probably had Newcastle's best chance of the whole game, really, with that header, which saved pretty well, considering they didn't have a lot to do all night, which we'll move on to. We'll talk about Steve Bruce, because when you see Chelsea's second choice goalkeeper in goal, who's not done well all season, you think, right, that's what we want right now. But from the 2 games that you've seen of him, he does look a good, half-decent player. There is something in him, but away at Stamford Bridge against a Chelsea, a better Chelsea side than normally has been in the last, say, 3 or 4 weeks. It was always going to be tough against the likes of Kovacic and Mount and Jorginho.
Yeah, Kovacic particularly impressed me tonight. But I thought Willock was largely anonymous for most of the game, but was just getting into it when he took off. Cracking header, good save from Kepa. What a confidence boost for him, clean sheet, and Werner. If you're out of form, come and play us. It's a tricky one. He didn't do a vast amount in the first half. The midfield were largely ineffective because of the width Chelsea played and how narrow we were. I am going to go.
Got into a good area, actually. I remember ASN crossing it, and he got into a great area, and he just hit a little bit better with his left foot. That could have been a good opportunity. And plus, Shelby was behind him as well.
Yeah, that was second half, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that was 60-65, something like
that. Yeah, I mean, I'm going 4 because he was still anonymous for a good hour of that game, and he had a decent 10 minutes where you think, okay, he's coming into this now, and then he gets taken off. So it was a bizarre one to take him off as opposed to a Shelby, but or a Hayden even. But yeah, I don't think. I mean, look, this probably it's not a game that. It's a game for someone like that. He's going to struggle to shine in, isn't he? Kovacic was superb tonight. When Mason Mount's probably the weakest of their midfield three, then that tells you all you need to know because he's having a good season. But yeah, Willock, there's more to come from him. You would hope anyway, because he certainly showed a lot of promise against Southampton. But tonight's not his night.
No, I think another man that wasn't really his night was Miguel Almiron. I think Chelsea kind of identified Almiron as almost a player that don't give him too much time and space on the ball because he can do a little bit of damage. And I thought that's why probably Chelsea went with 2 number 6s, if you like, with Kovacic and Jorginho, just to kind of nullify that particular area that Almiron likes. But did have a big chance, 10 minutes to go. I think it was actually Jamal Lewis' little flick on. I think the commentator got it wrong because he said it was Joe Linton, but I'm sure I saw number 6. Lewis' little flick, and he has a volley. And I think if he hits to the other side, he doesn't actually panic and not try and break the net and just gets it on target. I think that's actually a big chance for Newcastle. Arguably one of the better chances. But
he ran a lot.
He did run a lot. We keep on saying this every week, but it's great, isn't it? I love that saying. Yeah, he did. He ran a lot. Look, he's a bit like a Matt Ritchie in terms of effort. You're going to get a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 in terms of effort. Just the quality's not always there. I think he's probably a tiny bit better than the rest, but not much better. I'll go 5. But yeah, he's still so much more comfortable in that central position. So as long as he doesn't get shafted to the right hand side or the left hand side, I'm quite happy at the minute with Miggy. But yeah, if we can kind of get the Miggy of the Everton game and the Southampton game and the Leeds game, the Crystal Palace game, not Leeds game, to an extent, then I think Newcastle should be okay. But God, I'm not putting any confidence on that just yet with Fulham's next 3 games. ASM for you, Karl. I thought he was anonymous tonight.
Yeah, you could see he was obviously trying to make things happen. He had a few, not much foul for him. He had a decent crossing for that chance that Willock put wide. But it's happening too often with him. I don't know if it's lack of support or what, but he just ends up running into a brick wall or holding on to the ball too long. We heard about his final product not being the greatest before we signed him, and it just seems that maybe feels like he's the one that needs to grab the game by the scruff of the neck, and he's probably doing too much, and in doing that isn't doing himself any favours. So didn't cover himself in glory tonight. I'm probably, in the respect to everyone else, I don't think he was as good as Almiron, so I'd give him a 4.
Very generous.
Do you think? Fair enough.
Sam, do you think ASM was? It's because I think every time he was on that left hand side with the ball, I just felt like he was trying to do too much. Just beat your man once. If you can beat your man, just get a crossing. Gale's going to be a bit of a poacher, but it just seemed like it was just kind of trying to do far too much. And And when he did that, it was like Chelsea had one or two around him and nicked the ball off him.
Played us into trouble a lot more than he played us into attack. Had one kind of little mini moment where he kind of turned Azpilicueta inside out, and you think, oh, there's some potential here. But then Chelsea put a stop to that straight away with Kovacic and Hudson-Odoi. I think it was one of his worst games.
Fair enough.
Do you have to look at Alan Saint-Maximin games like Wolves and West Brom that are coming up, and not really Chelsea and Manchester United? Because against Wolves and West Brom, no disrespect to them football clubs, if he's got a little bit of quality, it could just get us over the line.
I mean, look, it's. I see what you're saying, because we have a horrendous record in this fixture in particular, and it was always going to be a big ask. But still, you would expect better than what we got tonight. It wasn't. It just wasn't a good performance. I don't. Put it this way. We need to pray for a result against Wolves, and I would strongly consider taking him out for Sunday and putting Ryan and Fraser back in, because all three substitutes played a lot better than the players that they replaced tonight. But he was just so off tonight. Just nothing came off for him, and when nothing comes off for ASM, the whole team suffers.
Yeah. Moving on, Sam, to Dwight Gayle. We spoke at the weekend. I wanted Gayle to start because I think he's similar to Wilson in terms of what they can offer, just not as good as Wilson, obviously. You wanted Andy Carroll in. Slightly.
This is where you say, Sam, you were right.
I was going to say it was a missed opportunity from Dwight Gayle tonight. It really was. But again, in that first half in particular, no one really covered themselves in glory.
No, and just proved my point again that kind of Gayle isn't a natural carbon copy replacement for Wilson, because when do you ever see Dwight Gayle go down the right hand side, working the channels and doing this, that, and the other? You don't. He works to the confines of the 6-yard box, and he's a poacher. That's what Dwight Gayle is. I could understand more if he was where Almiron was, and Almiron was allowed to work on Almiron on the left and ASM on the right would have been better. But struggled in that position, was completely ineffective. Was he played out of position? Yes. So I just thought tonight was a game for Andy Carroll, and I think it proved that in the last 15 minutes when he actually came on and hassled defenders.
But Carroll was more central where Gayle wasn't. Yeah.
No, I said he played out of position, but everyone thought that this was Gale's chance because of that Wilson similarity, and it just proves how streaks ahead Callum Wilson is of Dwight Gayle, who is a championship striker and a very, very good championship striker. Yeah, but he's continued to prove that he's just not quite good enough for consistent Premier League. West Brom away is a perfect game for Dwight Gayle. You know? Games like that. Chelsea away, Man United away, that ain't a game for Dwight Gayle. Just no. Scoring-wise, did he do anything of note?
Talked on a corner.
So he had a chat.
Yeah, there was literally a couple of times.
Samuel, apparently.
Yeah, tried to encourage some players a couple of times. That was it.
Well, there's a severe lack of voices in that team. Henry Winter put out a tweet highlighting the same. He was at the game tonight. I will just point out this comment because I completely disagree. Joe Linton was far better when he came on than Dwight Gayle was tonight.
It's an overall assessment.
But in terms of a score, he was out of position. Let's get that right. Which goes down to the manager being kind of lazy again with his tactics and just thinking, straight swap, that'll do. What Was he worse than Jamal Lewis? No, because Gayle wasn't at fault for any goals. But did he come back and help like you should do when you're playing on the right? No, not really. It's a tricky one. I'm torn between 2 and a 3. So I'm going to go 2.5.
We got there in the
But
end.
with a caveat to a degree of sympathy, there will be games for Dwight Gayle, but before the Wilson is back from injury. Like I say, West Brom away, Sheffield United at home, something like that, kind of. West Ham at home, possibly, but nah, not tonight. Not on Sunday.
Remember the final. The last word is on with Lee at 12:15. He's doing the night shift, and he'll have all the reaction to this game as well. So make sure you keep tuned for that as well. Substitutions. First substitution was Joe Linton. Again, I have to be honest. When I seen that he was coming before Ryan Fraser, I was thinking, "You've got to be joking me." But I thought he was all right. Look, he's not. I think that right hand side is probably the best of a bad bunch in terms of positions. Did he improve us marginally because Gayle was giving us absolutely nothing in that position? But again, that's not his position. It wasn't really on long. I'll give him a 4.5. I honestly thought he was all right tonight, which it surprised me to say.
You just don't want to score him the same as Almiron.
Pardon? I don't think he's as good as Almiron. I thought Almiron created a tiny bit more. If Almiron was a bit more, it didn't panic. He might have scored today with that chance late on. But no, I'll go 4.5 for him today. I've seen something from Luke Edwards today saying that Newcastle are willing to cut the losses if he doesn't improve. I think that performance will be like, well, it's a tiny bit better, but I think they're still going to sell him in the summer. And if they can get anywhere near half what they paid for him, I think that'll be an absolute achievement. But
he's got no chance.
I know, but we'll see. You never know. Some German club might be stupid enough to pay it. Who knows? But yeah, 4.5 for Joe Linton. Karl Ryan Fraser.
He caused a couple of problems. He was all right. Good to see him getting minutes again. Did more. Probably, I think everyone would agree. Probably did more than Maximin, to be fair. For the short amount of time he was on the pitch. I'm just trying to think of something in particular that he did really well or really bad. I can't think personally. I'll probably echo your score for Joe Linton then, just for the amount of time that he was on the pitch of 4.5.
Andy Carroll, Sam.
15 minutes, kind of. I mean, to be fair, it's longer than he normally gets. But I don't know. Are we going non-applicable or are we giving him a score? Because he hassled the defence, relatively.
He had the same amount of chances as Dwight Gayle tonight. None.
Yeah. I know. This was a game we should have got 60 minutes from the start for me. I want to see him on Sunday. I want to see him hassling the heck out of Lindelof. I want to see him giving him a hard time for an hour, and then you can bring on Dwight Gayle for half hour or Joe Linton or whatever. But I don't know. He wasn't on long enough, was he? Let's face it. But he did more than most. And what baffles me is his last proper performance was the FA Cup at Arsenal. Did well, should have won us the tie. But since then he's been restricted to stoppage time, substitute appearances. Like 15 minutes is genuinely the longest he's had off the bench for a while.
He's not Premier League quality.
He's more Premier League quality than Dwight Gayle.
I think you're clutching at straws a little bit there. Like I don't think there's much in it.
It's like right back. Both of them are pretty much done.
You could argue either way.
More faith in Carroll than I have Dwight Gayle.
You could argue either way. Who's more of a Premier League striker.
Well, Carroll's more than even historically and throughout his career, Carroll is more of a Premier League striker than Dwight Gayle. Carroll has England caps.
Historically, yes, but I don't know. we're just hoping that it's 6
But
weeks.
again, it's just there's just so much dead wood in that
100%.
squad. It's the exact. It's more or less the exact same quandary as right back. It's just neither of them are that good enough. We've got no real alternative to Callum Wilson, and this is going to be a freaking long 2 months without him.
Well, that's 1 week down, 7 weeks to go, or hopefully 5 weeks. He might be back after the international break. Steve Bruce, right? I'll start the conversation off with Steve Bruce. Selection-wise, I was quite happy with it. I would rather have had Dwight Gayle starting than Andy Carroll or Joe Linton. Maybe can you go a 4-2-3, want to get Gayle a bit more central, or is that being stupid for against a team like Chelsea? Who knows? You could almost make it a 4-5-1 if we just there to defend a little bit. First half, we gave Chelsea far too much respect. We did, and that's why 2-0 flattered us, really. Poor goals to give away, particularly the second goal. I'm not happy with Jamal Lewis for that second goal at all. I think he falls asleep and Werner's just there, and he knows what he's done, really. He knows what he's done before even Werner gets there, and puts it in the back of the net or before it puts it over the line. Pressure's on again for Steve Bruce. And we keep on saying it, but Fulham have got 3 winnable games in the next 3 games. I know they haven't. I think they've only won 3 games all season, but you look who they've got. They've got Sheffield United on Saturday, Crystal Palace the week after, but Wednesday is a huge game against Burnley. It's a massive game. We need Burnley to get a result there. And if they do, it doesn't matter to an extent what's happened tonight, but it all depends if Burnley win, and that's a huge one. A defeat to Chelsea's kind of expected, rightly or wrongly, but still not great to see. Didn't really cause anything going forward. It's a tough one. I'm going to go 2.5. That's my rating for Bruce tonight. Karl, I'll let you contribute to the summary now.
I was the same as you. I was relatively happy with the lineup. For once, it's difficult with a lot of it, the injuries that we've got. I think it's becoming increasingly apparent that the depth and quality that we've got isn't there. We've listened to people like Simon Jordan talk about the players not being good enough, and then we all get on his back. But I'm starting to look at it and think, Jesus Christ, is he right? And that's a bitter pill to swallow. Like, I don't blame Steve Bruce per se for a lot of tonight. I think that the players have got to be held accountable for a lot of things tonight. Dwight Gayle was played out of position, but other than that, was anyone else really played out of position? No. Like you said, we don't expect a result against Chelsea. Just expected to make it difficult for them, and I don't think we did that. 3 for Steve Bruce for me.
Sam, finish it off.
I'm going a bit higher because I'm going to play devil's advocate slightly, because you're maligning the players and then giving Bruce a low score. I don't think this was his worst game.
That's a fair point.
Any stretch of the imagination. We would be hammering him if he went 5 at the back tonight. You both said you were happy with the team he put out. I wasn't. I wanted Carroll.
Performance though, Sam.
Right, well, that's down to the players, surely.
Well, it's not down to the manager who puts them out there.
Well, you just said you were happy with the team.
Yeah, but you've got there's a thing of putting the team out, but there's also a thing about getting a good performance out of them. That's what a manager's job is, isn't it?
Yeah, but the players have still got to go out and do it. To be fair, at Chelsea we normally lose 3 or 4 or 5-0, so 2-0 is actually not that bad in the grand scheme. But
I'm so happy.
Yeah, me too. But the thing is, our goal difference is naff, and that's another thing that Fulham have got for them as well, which is is testing. But Bruce pretty much did what we wanted him to do. He made decent substitutions. Okay, they still come a little bit too late. I wanted Carroll to start, but everyone else wanted Gayle. Fine, whatever, didn't work. He'll probably go back to 5 at the back against Man United on Sunday now. Can you blame him?
That first half wasn't good enough. I'm sorry.
No, it wasn't.
It
completely wasn't. And it was quite clear him or Graham Jones or whoever it is got into him at half time. So And he gave him 15 minutes to change it. Dwight Gayle didn't perform. He was hooked off. And when Joe Linton's outperforming, you know something's wrong. And I know Gayle was out of position, but everyone wanted to play him there and see him take his chance. So it wasn't Bruce's worst moment. He's had plenty worse games than that. Plenty worse games. In terms of scoring wise, I'd probably go 5.
Wow.
So what's the average?
We'll go with Carl's right and go 3 or 3.5 or something.
What did Karl say?
3.
3. Probably about 3.5, I think. Or 3 or whatever.
I mean, that is good for Steve Bruce, to be fair.
Very good. It's probably one of his higher ratings that he's had for a while.
I think what worried me, and I don't know if anyone saw it, and I'm probably making a meal of it, but a few people said it in the comments as well, is that just before Andy Carroll was coming on, you had 3 of them giving him instructions, and it all clearly looked like they're all different instructions. He didn't look like he had a clue what was going on. And I was just like, I thought I was making a thing of it, but then people were saying the same thing, and I was just like, I'm sure like nobody knows what's going on here.
It's just frustrating, isn't it? Like I just look. I know we weren't expecting to get anything, but it's just that first half performance in particular. You look at that and you just go, "Come on! You can be a bit better than that." If it's 2 worldies or if it's 2 really good plays from Chelsea, you can kind of accept it, but not especially that second goal. I'm sorry, that was just ridiculous.
Which is why he'll go back to 5 at the back on Sunday.
Possibly. Who knows? Hopefully not, in my opinion, but get your comments in if you would go 5 at the back against Manchester United, or do you think Steve Bruce will go?
Oh, by the way, I am still very much Bruce out. Let's just get that straight. Before you start, 5 this, 5 that. Well, yeah.
Would I do such a thing?
We would be hammering him if he'd have gone 5 at the back tonight.
I'd have hammered him a bit more no, I'm leaving. It's 12:15 at night, and Lee starts in 2 minutes. Right. 2-0 Chelsea, 3 out of 10 for Steve Bruce. Get your comments in. Lee's got the last word. I'm sure you'll get into a few debates about what we've been talking about all night. And we're back again on Sunday for Manchester United against Newcastle. 7 o'clock kick-off if you're watching us in the UK as well. So from myself, Sam Mulliner and Carl Bryant, we'll see you all very, very soon.